You are listening to Level Up Your Gaming Podcast, episode 61, Telling a Connected Game. Today we talk about telling a connected game. We discuss how to introduce a long through line through your campaign and how to break it up at logical points. We also discuss how to pace the game given the disconnected segments. If you'd like to participate in the discussion or leave us feedback, you can contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. If you like the content and want to hear more of the show, subscribing will ensure you don't miss an episode. New episodes come out almost every Wednesday. Also, please review, tell a friend about the podcast, or share with your gaming group. Now sit back and enjoy the episode. Welcome into the Level Up Your Gaming Podcast. My name is Aaron, and joining me in person, he'll leave all the clues you need to follow for his overarching plot, Jared.
Hey everybody, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since I've seen you. I mean, if you've been listening along, you know that we had backlogged a bunch of episodes because I was away in South Carolina. I was also at my brother's wedding in Alabama. If you're wondering, all amazing things. Great. Had a blast in South Carolina. Had a great time at the wedding. It was just like a great escape from Illinois. If you live in Illinois, I'm sorry as well. So, or congratulations if you really like it, but I didn't like it. How you doing, Jared?
Not bad. Haven't been traveling very much. They had me down up in New Hampshire for like a week, and then they had me down in Georgia for like a week. But both short trips. Loved being down in Georgia. New Hampshire was still a little bit cold at that time, but yeah, I hear things are really heating up. So, but no, it's been a pretty quiet week, getting a lot of things done. So I'm very happy. But yeah. So what's on the docket for today?
So I'll tell you that in just a second, but I do want to shout out Gary for sending us an email on the Session Zero episode.
Yes,
you had a bunch of great points there, Gary. So I really do appreciate it. And we'll get you an email back for that, or if you haven't received it already. But you know, a couple of things that you did point out in that email was you talked about how important it was for your, how important it is now in your kind of current years, and I think we just totally agree with that statement. I know you talked about how going to a committee doesn't always result in the way that you want it to come out.
And it doesn't.
Again, you might have players who are just not interested in anything that you want to tell. But what you need to also remember is that even though they might have a different viewpoint, I think you said that your players had the viewpoint of fighting things and leveling up, always take into mind that you are able to interject your personal flair into the game, and always do that, because if you aren't having fun storytelling it, and Jared will tell you this, I'll tell you this, you're going to hate it. You're
going to hate it.
Yeah. Come up with a story that you like, that surrounds the needs and the wants of your players as well. So, just make sure that you've got that. And, don't, I know you brought up, you story told a Game of Thrones game, it didn't go so hot.
I own that book, actually.
If Game of Thrones isn't your thing, I think it's best for you to be honest with them as the GM, because even though this is a democratic, process here, and you want to make sure that everybody's happy at the table, you can be like, guys, I know nothing about this. I'm not going to like it. You're probably not going to love it. And
there comes a point where you do have to inform. It's like if anyone came to me and was like, Jared, we want you to run a D&D story. Like,
it's give and take. Like, Jared might try it, but I don't think that you're gonna run a long campaign in D&D.
No, it's just not my cup of tea. It's not the history area that grips me. I applaud everyone who does it, and I think it's really. I've read a lot about it, and on Reddit, I've helped out a lot of other storytellers that were kind of like stuck. And a lot of people do D&D, so I've helped them out there. But if someone came to me and said, Jared, we want a long campaign of D&D, I'd be very hesitant, because I know myself. We attempted to do a game once set in ancient Japan. And ancient Japan is a piece of history that does very much interest me.
I love that game, to be honest with you, but I know that you lost interest in it.
I lost interest in it.
You lost interest in it as a storyteller, and this is the same thing we give to you, Gary, is, if you do lose interest in it as a storyteller, it's okay to tell your players, listen, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to have to wrap this. I'm going to have to wrap this thing up. I just don't, have enough energy and desire to keep telling this thing. And, your players have to be flexible. It's a give take situation. If you come to this table at a session 0 and say, I've got this great story, and they say no, well, at the same time, they have to understand, like, well, you're not just completely, flexible to tell whatever they want you to tell. You can try, but you still have to tell something that you have enjoyment for telling as well.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's kind of the best way I can put it for you. But you've got more there in the email, but I thought that was kind of the biggest piece. Oh, you also brought up the hard nose, and kind of coming to the consensus about what's okay at the table. So again, you guys get to come up with that idea together, but there are things that hold more weight, where if one person is totally against this thing, I think you brought up something that was along the lines of sexual assault and rape. Like if a player's not okay with those themes, just boom, they're off the table.
Exactly, and that's something that I would set. I mean, that's something personally that another storyteller had part of a game, and I was not cool with it. I told the storyteller it was out of LARP, and essentially this other player was, doing. His character was committing such acts, and I told the storyteller, I said that this isn't cool. Mm-hmm. This isn't cool. Like, and I mean, that storyteller didn't do anything about it, but I left that game for a little bit because I was appalled. I don't think that act should ever be utilized in this setting.
And again, like this is exactly the point, is that like there's some things that are really, really hardcore and egregious that are like, you just don't take those in. And if one person's not okay with something in that regard, it's a hard no. Okay. And I think that most people would probably agree that that's a hard no. Okay. You're probably going to find some people who would disagree, but
I listen to this one YouTube channel that has stories from players all over the U.S. and there are storytellers out there that do that, and like they're like shock jocks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they're okay with that, and I'm like, no, that's not cool.
But on the other side of things, like, if you want to tell a more mature game, meaning like there's going to be violence and there's going to be death in it, if somebody's like, I don't like super gory graphic, then you don't have to tell super gory graphic. But you might have to be like, there's still going to be death and violence in the game.
And everything's
gray and malleable. Like
it is.
There is no right or wrong way to do this, I should say. So I mean, like, again, it comes down to your table, and it comes down to you as a GM and what you feel okay. One, storytelling, and then two, how you want to come to that consensus with the players.
And you know what, like, yeah, that's what it comes down to. And what are you okay with storytelling and presenting, and what are your players okay in playing in and working with? So it's not it's a malleable line, but there are areas in there where you can definitely be like, this is a hard no.
Yeah.
Not a soft no. This is a hard no. I'm not going to bring that in, period.
Yeah, if your players have hard no's, they'll tell you that. That's part of the communication in the session.
Yep, that's what communication is all about.
So, again, I just want to say thank you again for the email. It was great points. Like I said, we should have gotten that back to you by at this point in time, but if not, I want to let you know that there will be a response coming to that email. So thank you for listening, and we hope that you keep writing in. And everybody else, if you want to get our feedback, you want to share your points, you want to be like, I don't agree with Jared.
I mean, that's pretty common, but
please,
my own house.
Contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can comment on the episodes at facebook.com/levelupyourgaming. But Jared, you want to know what the episode topic is?
Yeah, what's the topic today?
The topic today is going to be telling a connected game. And so this kind of goes into our talk about the episodic gaming, or the overarching story. We talked about it a little bit in the sandbox game as well. It's this connected storyline that you have over multiple games. And even if you're not always GMing back to back to back to back, like this is how you leave the breadcrumbs to get to the end of that connected game and how you pay it off. And I just finished telling a connected game.
Yes, you did. Fantastic connected game.
So mine started with kind of this cosmic horror kind of creature. We called it Blug. And it started off as something so innocuous in the first game. I gave them the name. And then in the second game, it became more apparent that things were getting real. Like, oh, wow, this is more than just this one-off game thing that I had done. And then through every other game that I connected it with, I think I did 5 or 6 games in total.
I think it was 5.
I brought it all the way up to how do you stop him from entering the world? Because he was cosmic horror. So you think Cthulhu, think that type of mythos where, the world ends in desolation and nobody can stop him. But instead,
except for our bold adventurers.
Except for my bold adventurers who didn't actually stop the creature in question, but they stopped his coming into being, which was kind of the way that I gave the win to the players there, but let them know, like, this is beyond the scope of you two. Like, you would need the universe.
Or is it?
Maybe it isn't. I don't know. We'll find out someday.
We'll find out.
But Jared, what are your thoughts on telling a connected game?
So, telling connected games is something that I really enjoy. It's something that I've practiced multiple times, and I've only gotten better as life has gone on. And it's funny because I am actually preparing a connected storyline right now, and I have to tell you, telling a connected story is going to take time. That's really the being patient with it and letting it kind of move through is there. I shouldn't say that. There are different levels of connected stories. You can do minor connected stories that are very easy to untangle. It's the local crime lord who seems to be funding all of these bad guys in an act of rebellion against, I don't know, the Empire. Star Wars-y. I don't know. Everyone's playing Stormtroopers, I guess. Or against the Jedi. And it all comes back to this one guy. So, I mean, like that, for example, a good example of that is the Star Wars episodes. Sidious is essentially...
He's a reoccurring villain.
He's a reoccurring villain who somehow is connected to all the villains, all the minor... he trained Darth Maul and sent Darth Maul to kill Anakin. Did he? I don't know. I don't really remember that one. Why he sent Darth Maul there, I don't know why. In the second one, you've got Count Dooku, and in the third one, and all these people are connected to Darth Sidious, either by apprenticeship or by his guidance. And that's a pretty easy way to tell a connected story. And the funny thing is that your players will probably be like, holy crap, it's been Emperor Palpatine the whole time, because they don't get the cut scene in the middle of the movie where it's like, we'll see about that young Jedi. They don't get that cut scene. So at the end, it's a surprise to them. Oh, it was Palpatine. Unless you mess up, like in the third one where he's sitting with Anakin, and it's just like, I know something of the Sith. Oh, how do you know about the Sith? Oh, I'm just a senator from Naboo who just ends up knowing about Sith stuff, and Darth Plagueis. But beyond that, that is a simple format. It's very appealing to players because they don't see the backstory. You look very enlightened with very little prep work. And it can be something as simple as monetary funding for the bad guys. This kind of James Bondish sort of way. I give out money to bad guys to do bad things because I'm a bad guy, and I'm hoping a return on my investment. It's all about return on investment, ROI, baby. God, I said that way too many times this week. What's our ROI? So then there's more complex, where you can kick it up a notch. It leads back to this organization. So phase 1 is they're fighting the little guys that are somewhat connected to this organization. Phase 2 is they're fighting this larger organization. And phase 3, they finally find out who is the head of this organization and how it's all put together. But really, one thing that I kind of want to start giving you as a toolbox is how I do the most complex ones. So the most complex ones, actually what I do and what I'm doing right now is we've talked about this before, which is backwards design methodology. So the first thing I come up with is the main villain and his goal. Now, if I want to tell a connected story, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sit there and say, what does he need to complete his goal? You know, let's say his goal is to get 2 countries to fight each other. Okay? So I need, you know, a disaster in one country to look like it was caused by country A. And I need a disaster in country A that looks like it was caused by country B. You know, there we go. 2 world powers are going to fight. Now I figure out what disasters are. You know what I mean? So, for example, it might be a political assassination. And country A, there's a political assassination. I make sure the assassin is from country B and has strong ties to its military. You know, that's kind of simple, but it works. Country B, I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to say I am going to utilize a satellite laser to attack the capital. Now, you might go, whoa, you've really upped the ante. Well, what I'm showing is a simple version. I get an assassin who just has country ties to the other country, and then a more complex version. Okay, so now I've decided on the satellite that's going to destroy the capital of country B. To get said satellite online, I'm going to need a hacker or a transmitter, powerful enough transmitter and a hacker. Okay, so now I need a hacker and a transmitter. For a transmitter, I need a construction crew. I need a communications specialist. Somebody who knows how to get a signal to outer space to a freaking thing. So now I've got my grocery list, and that's literally what I call it. It's my grocery list of things that I have to get as the bad guy. I need to get a construction crew that's going to ask no questions. I need to get a communications specialist, somebody who knows how to get a signal out into space, and I need a hacker. And I also need an assassin from from country B. Now, who's my guy that I'm going to, because unless you got a ballsy villain who's like, well, I'm going to handle all this personally. Maybe they have, like a fixer or somebody who does it for them, a lieutenant. So that adds another level to your mountain or to your glacier, right? So then what you do is go, how does he get this? So this is where we move into Socratic method. How does he get the construction company that will ask no questions? Okay, well, the fixer or the lieutenant is going to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z. He's going to talk to bad guy construction RS. Done. Next I need the satellite specialist. Okay, I need somebody with, a history, preferably connected to country A, because if they ever got caught, this has all got to be from country A. It's got to be sourced in country. So then it makes it more believable. And what I start doing is I start plotting out how he gets all of the items on the grocery list. And again, this is a very James Bondish sort of thing. I'm going to need X amount of money as well. Okay, so I need country A to look like it's the one with the money. So now I need a banking specialist who's going to make sure all the money flows from country A to get this done. Adds to the grocery list, adds to the level of complexity. Then what I do is once I've assembled my grocery list and how I'm going to get all the items on my grocery list, then I've got my list of how do other people find out? Where are the mistakes? Right? Because the objective is not to create the perfect plan. Always remember that. The objective is not to create a perfect plan because a perfect plan isn't going to get stopped. The heroes stop the plan. They stop the laser from destroying country B's capital.
Or the story plot points need to be not so ambiguous that like players can't figure out where to go next.
Right.
So, I mean, you bring up a good point there, which is, so effectively what we're doing here in telling a connected game is the same thing. You might be like, hey guys, it sounds a lot like just telling a long story or doing something like that. It is.
Doesn't it?
It is just that. But the difference here, and again, you can use all these points for telling a great long story. The slight difference here is that in an episodic fashion, the players have to hit wins along the way, but in winning, they also hit losses that happen to compound to allow the villain to continue their plot.
Correct. And with episodic play, instead of just thinking this is one long campaign, what I like about episodic, so let's say that our characters, our protagonists, are UN personnel who, UN intelligence, even though the UN doesn't have an intelligence wing, I don't think. But they're UN spies like James Bond. Well, James Bond works for the UK, but they're the good guys. They're good spies who are trying to stop these two countries from going to war. You know, essentially what you're going to do is assemble, when you're looking at your episodic games, right? Now that I've got my grocery list and I've got the mistakes and I've got how I'm going to create the hook. So the mistake leads here because, you know, when I transferred the money to the, you know, ordinary evil construction company, you know, the financials got flagged because I used a construction company that's well known for this crap. So the leader of your intelligence group tells you to go look at it. Episode numero 1, right? We're going to track down the banker, okay? Or the construction company or whatever, and we're going to find out they're building some sort of large tower out in the desert. I don't know. But what the thing is that's episode 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. You get a 3-session plot out of that. They end up blowing up the tower, okay? Not quite sure what it was there for, but well, blowing up a tower. Who doesn't love blowing up towers? When you move to episode 2, in an episodic format, you don't have to engage that same plot. It could be completely different. It could be on another continent, different country. It could be, oh, well, we now got called to, you know, help evacuate citizens out of Quambala land, and we're helping that. And that's episode 2, and it was a 5-session game. Now, it's been 5 sessions since they've actually engaged the major plot. Now, you can leave small things in there, or you can leave it completely alone. Now we move on to game number 3. Game number 3, we come back to our major plot. This time we're going after the assassin. We've heard that an assassin is going to kill the president of country B. This could be one of the lost ones, because we need that. We need at least one of these plans to succeed, to increase tensions. So they go after in episode B, or game 3, we engage that. And we're starting to see some stuff. I mean, well, we got a weird tower created in country A. Leader of country B got, you know, killed by an assassin from country A. Interesting.
I mean, you have to do, the one thing I do want to point out there is that in game 3, even if your assassin is going to succeed and kill the person,
they got to stop the assassin.
You have to stop the assassin at the end of it.
You got to capture him.
Maybe you didn't stop the assassin from achieving their goal, but you captured the assassin. Like, haha, we got you, or we defeated the assassin.
Yeah, they can't be a complete failure.
That is the challenge in the episodic game in general, is that at the end of each one, just like you would at the end of a long game, they have to win.
Precisely. On the nose. So, you know, for game 4 and 5, maybe you continue on this plot. For game 6, because you're in an episodic, not contained to chronicle, well, this is my story and we're going to run this story till the very end, till it's bone dry and done. No, you can flip. Oh, and now you guys are being called to Antarctica to investigate a murder. Why? Because it's UN territory. I don't know. So they're sending you down there. And it completely changes, allows you to have a break from this, right? It's a change in theme, mood, what the characters are doing. So they're not blowing up towers or chasing assassins. They're investigating the death of a scientist. It might be connected to an entirely different plot. You might have 2 or 3 connected games going at the same time. That's if you really want to stress yourself out. I don't recommend it. I recommend 1 connected story, maybe 2, running parallel. Not 3. Don't recommend it. It's a headache and you have a life.
That's a very interesting point that you put out there. I mean, again, you can do this. So again, the episodic game, the connected story does not necessarily have to be done in the context of the episodic game style that Jared and I are being done. You can do a long episodic game, meaning I'm the only GM at the table, and I just have different episodes for the long story that you guys have. Or you can say, as I think Gary, I'm going to bring it up one more time, you said you tell kind of short, compacted sections of your story that finish and end with kind of a downtime period. So what can happen then is that after that point in time, the players can drive to a side story, do stuff for player motivation, but you can always hook them back in to the main story.
And it's very easy to hook them back in, because you've already established it.
Especially if you're like spies for the UN, as Jared said, they're good spies.
Good spies.
Good spies.
Not evil spies.
Good spies don't work constantly. They get days off. So good spies have to go do their own thing. Maybe good spies have a friend in Zimbabwe, and there's a coup happening in Zimbabwe.
And they got to get that friend out.
They got to get that friend out. So that has nothing to do with the main story. It's just a fun little thing that you can have on the side.
Exactly. And that's really why I love episodic gaming compared to Chronicle gaming, because Chronicle gaming kind of, and that's why, and once again, I will go on my tirade about Tolkien. Sorry, everyone. I know everyone loves Tolkien, and I love him too. Great books, great movies, fantastic environment to set a game in. Just filled with material to draw from. But when we get into Chronicle gaming and a classic D&D gaming or Tolkien-ish gaming, we tend to get one-track minded. It's about the ring. That's all. Every episode is about the freaking ring. No. Break out of this. Think less Lord of the Rings, think more Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
The challenge with doing the everything is this story, and I'll caution GMs to it because I experienced it as an inexperienced GM myself, which is the players need room to breathe. If the story is about their kind of plight and fight against evil, and they're just constantly being beaten down, and they're constantly on this storyline, what you'll find is that the players will skip the emotional beats you want to get to.
Yes, they will. Great point.
Because what they want to do is they just want to get to the end of it so they can do the things that they want to do.
Yes, and episodic gaming is great because if you have a player's like, dude, I really want to, the story, I really want to dive into my backstory that I made for you. And you expressed interest, and you were interested in it as well. With an episodic story, you can say, okay, let's do that for an episode. Let's go to, Riyadh.
This goes into one of your design methodologies. One of the things that Jared ended up doing, like as he kind of grew into the GM that he is today, is you were looking at different ways to get players to tackle games. And there was a section after you establish plot, the main story, to give players playroom effectively.
Yeah,
and
free time.
Yeah, you gave it free time. And in some ways you executed that really well. In some ways you didn't. But one of the things that is really true is that your story isn't going to go anywhere. You're the GM. Okay,
you control the pace.
You've got the villain. They've got all the time in the world. Just put it that way. Until your players start strangling the plot, okay, they've got all the time in the world.
And you're right. Up until those last 2 sessions, like, oh man, they blew up my space tower, or they blew up the first transmitter. Now I had to make a second transmitter. They captured one assassin who talked about my secretive organization, but he didn't tell him everything because he really didn't know. They hacked my hacker.
But they don't know anything. They don't know who I am. They don't know who the organization is quite yet. They don't know enough.
When they start getting that stranglehold, as you said, that's when the heat starts turning up. That's when you start focusing more of your episodes towards that final goal, that final face-off. And trust me, at the end, your player's going to be like, holy crap. Episode 1, we blew up
the tower.
He had to build a second one? That's why he had the banker do this, this, and this? Yeah. That was like a month ago. Yeah. I'm playing chess. Y'all playing checkers. I'm playing chess. And that's really, what I do to really build those connected games. And sometimes you can just do it with small clues included in each episode. So, we were having a discussion with Ken, and Ken was talking about how to make better connected games. And, I brought up to him the idea of, like, let's say the main villain is a priest, right? Or he poses as a priest. As a Catholic, priests can't be bad guys. I'm sorry. They can't. They're human beings. So, but back to the point. Let's say he likes to pose around as a priest. He just likes to. He's a villain. He thinks it's funny. Episode 1, the demonic monster that they had to fight and kill, for some odd reason, had a rosary around its neck. Weird. Episode 2 has nothing to do with it. Episode 3. Well, the main bad guy set up in an abandoned church. It's like a vampire. He can't even, consecrated ground is not supposed to be cool. Yet he was set up in a church? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. Episode 3, 4, nothing to do with it. And when I say episodes, I'm generally talking between 3 to 5 game sessions. So, you're already at 15 at this point. So episode 3 and 4 have nothing to do with it. Episode 5, they finally meet the lieutenant of the bad guy, who's, I don't know, a choir, or acts like a choir boy or something like that. I don't know. But, he carries around a Bible and talks all religiously about how, the master has shown me the true way, yada, 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 yada. And then, we take care of him. And then we go, who is this master? And then, as you progress to stopping his major plot, you find out that he loves to pose as a priest. And your players will be like, holy crap, that's why the guy was wearing the rosary in the first one, because the priest put it around his neck and threatened him with it. No, but that's how you can tell a very connected villain.
You're giving them the breadcrumbs to find the end of the solution. And it doesn't mean that you're giving them all the breadcrumbs up front. You're spacing them out. You're taking your time. That's
the big thing and I can't stress that enough, that point. You got to take your time, because trust me, everything inside of you is going to be like, this is freaking awesome. I am a god of writing. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. And you're going to chase it in hard as fast. You have to reel that in.
I guarantee you, if you think about how good or your story is and how well laid out it is and all this other stuff, no matter how good it is, I guarantee you there are spaces that you can stop the player's advancement of the story, and they can come back to it and they'll still be just as engaged. I guarantee you that is always possible. Just remember that, because that tripped me up a lot as a young GM. Okay, that always tripped me up in the fact that I felt like, well, I got to keep giving them the story. If I don't, they're never gonna keep finding the story. They're never gonna engage with it, and that's wrong. That philosophy, that thought, is incorrect. You can always break the story and still re-engage the next time that you want to pick it back up.
Yeah, and sometimes you're going to have to, because your players just need a cooling off period.
They're going to want to go do something else. They're going to have found a cool book in the last chapter, and they're going to want to explore the information that's in that book. And it's going to have nothing to do with your story.
Nothing. But your players want to go chase it?
Your players want to go chase it. Give your players that opportunity. The one reason why you want to give your players that opportunity is because it gives you more time to polish your story.
Yeah, and polish the main plot. You know what I mean?
It also gives you time to think about, if they go dig into this book at the end of it, do they find something that reconnects them back to the main story?
There we go.
Okay, there's so many things that you can do. Do not think that if they get off track, if they get off the railroad, okay, and we're going to have a story or an episode talking about stonewalling your players.
Yep.
Okay, this is the thing that you want to be able to do. You want to give them that feeling that they are playing in the game that they want to play in, but it is your world and your experience. Like you're giving them the experience. You're by the graces of you're giving your players the experience.
By the graces of you. GM equals God mode. But yeah, no, it is not difficult to re-engage a player into a major plot, especially if you look at it through our lens. You know, through so many other people's lenses, they'll be like, well, you dropped the ball, you failed. No. I went back and retooled. I paused and let them go on, do something that they wanted to do, gave them something they wanted, while I re-engaged my story and went, okay, and you polished it.
Again, it's a roller coaster. Okay, they go up, they fight the villain, they come back down, they kind of coast along for a little bit. They go up and they fight the villain, they come back down. They're engaging in these ups and downs, and like the story is always going to have that. There's going to be inventory sessions effectively where the players are just going to shop and do nothing that you want them to do, and you're like,
that's a common thing, yeah.
There's gonna be days when they just,
I've got a sack of gold, I'm buying a house. Well, you've got to close on that house. It's going to take us a whole session.
Your players have picked up on something in this land where they want to now establish themselves as a solid guild, and they want to start putting together mercenaries to go fight the forces of evil that they've already started encountering in these last episodes, because God forbid any more of these towers stand up in this ancient world, done by crazy archmages. We have to stop this. Okay, so we're going to create a guild of people to stop doing that, to stop that. Okay, that's great. Let them do it. Okay, and then let a tower erect in the future, and you're like, how did you guys drop the ball on this? We were literally the guild that handles this.
We are problem. The guild that handles the tower problem. Guys, this is a lack of organizational cohesion. So, and that's the thing. So when you feel like your story, you got to run, right? Here's what I want you to do. This is a tool in your toolbox. I want you to take 5 minutes. Watch this. Trust me, it is so effective. Take 5 minutes in a comfy, quiet area. I'm not going to tell you to meditate. I'm not telling you to meditate. You're already thinking meditation, aren't you? But I want you to think about walking your story. That's what I want you to do. My story is on a walk. Because when you feel that need, that rush, and trust me, I felt the rush of creativity. Like, oh my God, I got to write this down. I got to make sure this story is put into my next session. Oh my God, I got to... Walk it. Walk your story. Take it for a nice, pleasant walk and remind yourself that you have time. That main plot line, especially if you follow episodic, if you go through our lens of episodic, you can walk it. It's only when you go through the lens of, I'm writing Tolkien-esque. BS. Tolkien was fighting a war while writing that book, okay? There were some days he could not put down a page. Why? Because he was too busy being shot at by the Germans. It's true. Walk your story. Be patient with it. Mull on it. Engage it when it feels right. When you feel your players are ready.
Let the players build into it. That's the thing. Because if the players don't feel excited and engaged with it when you get to the end of the story, they're not going to want to, again, just like we said earlier, they're going to do everything in their power to skip your emotional beats. They're going to try and just finish the story. And it's not going to mean as much to them. It's not going to mean as much to you. And you're going to be like, that was a big letdown. Like they finished it way faster than I wanted them to finish it. Mm-hmm. And it's because you tried to prematurely rush it, and they also went the same route. It can't keep escalating.
No.
There's going to be dips. There's going to be lulls. There's going to be time. You blew up the tower. It takes time to build a new tower.
It does. Totally takes time.
Okay?
Even as an Archmage.
Even as an Archmage, it takes time to build a new tower.
Rome was not built in a day.
We've been building that for 4 months, okay? And now I got to expedite a new one, but it still takes time.
Still takes time, and I got to build up the capital, money.
Yeah.
I got to build up that money. Why? Because I'm not going to be able to hold down my day job while I'm building a tower of evil dark sorcery.
Exactly.
I can't run my magic shop while I'm doing that.
So just take your time with it. And that's one of the bigger things in telling that connected game is don't rush it. Don't rush to the end.
Nope. Take it for a walk. Trust me, it will do you wonders. Take it for a walk.
Do you have anything else you want to add to this, Jared?
No, I'm great.
All right. Well, we thank you for listening to the podcast.
Always thank you.
And thank you for submitting the emails again. If you want to comment on the episodes, give us feedback on how we're doing, contact us at levelupyourgamingpodcast@gmail.com or facebook.com/levelupyourgaming and comment on the episodes. Again, we reply to everything that comes our way. We're happy to share your stories, share your successes, or share your opinions. Also, we are on YouTube. I finally got all the YouTube episodes up, so we are up to date. So, Jared,
smash that like button. Oh my God, smash it.
Thank you. Yeah, so if that's your preferred medium, please do that. Otherwise, go ahead and review us on your favorite podcast site, Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. Just helps make us more searchable. And share with a friend, share with your gaming group, get more people involved in the hobby, share with your gaming store. You're able to commiserate in ones at this moment, or your online forums. And so anyways, we thank you for listening again. And that's going to wrap us up for this week. For Jared, I'm Aaron. Have a great week, guys.
Have a great week, everyone.